The Justice League is filled with a ton of amazing godlike superheroes. Batman is the world's greatest detective, Superman is the Man of Steel, Green Lantern has the willpower to overcome anything, and Wonder Woman has literally defeated gods. But there is one of the founding members that always seems to get left in the dust, left behind by everybody, and he stands in the shadows of the rest of the Justice League. And that's odd, because he's the fastest man alive. He's the Flash. Barry Allen was having just a lovely night at the museum with Patty on their first date ever, when a group calling themselves Mob Rule arrived in a spectacular manner by breaking through the ceiling. But, my dear listeners, they just broke into an event that the Flash was attending. And once they realize that, our little thieves make a break for it. But do they really think that they can run faster than the Flash? The Flash quickly jumps off at their little helicarrier and grabs whatever it is that they were trying to steal. But one downside to being the Flash: you can't fly. But you can vibrate at the frequency of the floor, allowing you to pass through it and hit the sewer below. Iris West sees him crash land through the ground, and she runs over to make sure that he's okay. And he tells her everything's gonna be hunky-dory. The Flash bolts back to the museum and he chains back to Barry Allen just in time to work the crime scene. You see, Flash's day job is as a crime scene investigator. Patty, his date for the night, also works at the station, so she's at the crime scene. And Iris shows up because, well, she's a reporter. So all three of them are here because a body was left behind by Mob Rule. And this body turns out to be a man named Manuel, somebody that Barry Allen once knew. The Flash is sad over the loss of his friend, and he tries to decide how it happened. How did Manuel's life go so wrong? He also wants to know, why was Manuel stealing a DNA recoder? What use did he have for this? And just when he's getting nowhere with his investigation, an intruder breaks into his house. And then Barry discovers that his intruder is actually Manuel, alive. Manuel tells him that they don't have much time and they have to get out of here right now, and he jumps out of the window, and Barry chases after him in his underwear. Someone is chasing them, and Barry doesn't know who or how or what's happening, so he conveniently falls into a nearby river so he can come out as the Flash. He quickly catches up to Manuel, who's being captured by his pursuers. But then the Flash is shocked to see that his pursuers are more Manuels. Flash gives the Manuel army 3 seconds to let go of his friend and explain, but the Manuel army tells him, you can't be everywhere at the same time. So that idiot that jumped into the river, well, we kidnapped his lady, Iris West. The Flash is stuck, and he has to let the Mob Rule Manuel army go free so he can get to Iris fast. After ensuring she's okay, he takes off to meet up with one of his scientist friends because he's already running late, and that's not really something that the Flash is known for. Well, he was supposed to meet up with his friend Dr. Elias after the whole Mob Rule situation arose, because while he's in control of his powers, he doesn't understand them. They're just too new to him. Dr. Elias has him run on a treadmill, and it blows up and goes into the ground, and they discover that the Flash's powers are stemming from a power source that isn't in this world. A speed force, if you will. And somehow Barry Allen is tapping into it, and when the Flash asks if he can go faster, Dr. Elias says that his body is already going as fast as it can go. But his mind, he's not thinking fast enough. So Barry Allen decides to take the day off. There's so much going on that he needs to figure out. Why are there 50 Manuels? How did the other one die? How can he think faster? And while he's thinking about all of this, Patty comes up to the roof to find him. Not only is he dating her, but she's also his partner, and wants to let him know that the dead Manuel's cells are regenerating themselves. He's literally healing his injuries post-mortem. This means that his cells are able to regenerate in a hurry, meaning that all of those other Manuels could very easily just be clones. Then he realizes he just put everything together in milliseconds. There's a bird over there, there's a woman putting out a pie, there's a construction site over there. He's thinking at light speed, but he's interrupted by a phone call from the reporter Iris West that he ran into at the start of this adventure and he saved a little bit later. She has information for him on this case, so he says his goodbyes to Patty to go see what's up. But once he meets up with her, he realizes that he can't turn this off. His brain is moving at light speed even when he's on the streets with Iris, and he sees a potential robbery. He then realizes the power of thinking this quickly. He realizes that he calculated every possibility of stopping the crook in milliseconds, and within seconds, he manages to set up an entire trap for this robber to stop him. Iris explains that she got Manuel's passport, so maybe this can help Barry track down where Manuel came from. And the Flash has every location on this passport hoping to find a lead. Afghanistan, China, Serbia. And the only connection that he can seem to find is an old abandoned military training facility and some pigs. Returning back home, he starts trying to figure all of this out. Genetic recoding, clones, regeneration, unexplained death, and pigs? How is this all connected? There's so many unanswered questions right now. And just then, all of the power in the city and the surrounding areas goes out, causing a plane to plummet to the city. The first thing that the Flash does is jump into the air, passing through the plane by vibrating at its frequency. Then he makes the whole plane transparent so it passes through the bridge. He then quickly signs some autographs and he gets back on the road looking for more problems. He runs around the entire city saving the day. And while he's doing this, Dr. Elias is trying to get to the source of the Flash's power, and he conveniently ends up in front of the mob rule army of manuals. Oh, this won't end well. The night is very long for the Flash and the police force, and the next day when Barry returns to work, he finds out that the night was also eventful for one of his friends. Patty tracks down a lead on the whole Manuel clone thing, and they decide to patrol that area during this power outage so that they can possibly find more information. But as luck would have it, this is the exact time that Mob Rule is actually there. Well, Patty and Barry sneak in around this operation and they find Barry's friend, Manuel, without his hands. Barry, Patty, and Manuel all make a break for the exit as Mob Rule chases them down, and Barry locks himself inside while Patty is yelling for Barry to get out. Well, it's a good thing that Barry Allen is actually the Flash. Seriously, I highly doubt that none of you knew that at this point. And Barry decides to use his newfound power, analyze everything, look at all possibilities, and see where he can go. And he gets shot in the head. He was just standing there, overanalyzing everything, and he didn't actually move. Manuel carries Patty away while she screams for Barry, and Mob Rule flees, since they just shot a cop. Manuel and Patty get back to the police force, and Manuel's hands regenerate. He then decides that this is all his fault. He dragged Barry back into this, so he's gonna go back in and save Barry. But once he gets back to Mob Rule, they tell him that they just killed that cop, infuriating Manuel, and he jumps right in to fight his clones. But they're all just him, and he can't take himself out. He hits the ground hard, realizing how futile this is, and he remembers. He remembers how he got to this point. He remembers why there are clones of him, regeneration. He remembers back on the whole situation. How did he let Barry die? They're old friends. He was always visiting him. Barry was always there for him. Barry always helped him out. And now, because of this mess he got himself into, he got Barry killed. How can they be capable of killing Barry? How can he be capable of killing Barry? They're all the same person. But Barry isn't dead. He couldn't be. While he was shot in the head, his natural reflexes saved him at the last second. Either way, he realizes that he needs to get a handle on his powers because he was so lost in all of the possibilities that he froze in place and got himself shot. He then looks around and finds a tie that belongs to Dr. Elias, and he realizes they have Dr. Elias. Oh, and there's Dynamite over there. He gets out at top speed and he realizes he's gonna have to end this. This is getting out of control. We then cut to Dr. Elias leading the Manual army around, and he's helping them. They have a flaw in their DNA causing them to die, and he's just trying to help them, even if they do have him captive. The clones are all flawed, and they need their genetic code to be rewritten with the real Manual's DNA code to save them. Dr. Elias is going to try and do this right now. The Flash runs the entire length of the city looking for the Manuels. They took his real friend. They endangered his other friends. They have to be stopped. And when you can run the entire length of the city in milliseconds, it's kind of hard to hide a whole army of Manuels. So Flash tracks them down quickly. He's done playing around. He's gonna end this in a flash. And he takes out all of the Manuels and runs straight into the experiment, getting ready to get Manuel off the machine that Dr. Elias attached him to. But Dr. Elias stops him and says that Manuel wants this. It's working. It's going to save the entire Mob Rule. But Dr. Elias is wrong. Something is going wrong and it's about to explode. But wait, it is working. If the Prime Manuel just sits there longer, it'll save all of Mob Rule. Dr. Elias tells Flash that he needs to contain the blast, and Flash, apologizing to his friend, starts to create a vortex around him to contain the blast. He uses everything to send the blast into the atmosphere and away from the city, and it goes up into space, and well, who knows where it goes next. Then, Manuel sees all of his clones dying. The Flash prevented them from getting the DNA recoding that they needed. But he saved his friend. And the Flash is exhausted and he falls to his knees. And Manuel walks over furious. The Flash killed them all! And he knocks out the Flash. And then he knocks out Dr. Elias and he walks away. Days later, he cuts off one of his own fingers. And they regrow into more Manuels. He'll figure this out on his own. The Flash meets up with Dr. Elias also days later to get some bad news. When he threw that EMP pulse into the atmosphere at top speeds, he sent it into time. And it's been ripping other things out of time, such as a World War II fighter plane, and throwing them all over the place. As it turns out, every time that Barry Allen runs at top speeds, he's tearing the very fabric of space and time. And the only answer that Dr. Elias has for how they can stop this is destroy the Speed Force. But we're going to have to cover that next time, because it's time for us to end this story, and I'll see you guys next time right here at Comicstorian.